are back. Welcome to my preview and predictions for Game Week 12 of La Liga. This is going to be my final La Liga preview and predictions before the next international break. We've had 3 weeks of non-stop club football action, and best believe international previews and predictions will be coming back for you next week with daily uploads for those World Cup qualifiers once again. As for today, though, we are closing in on the third way mark of this La Liga season. It's another massive week of action coming at you from Spain. Before we get into it, as always, if you haven't done so already, please do consider dropping a like on this video. If you enjoy all of my previews and predictions, share it with a friend as well. Subscribe to the channel if you're new around here with notifications turned on so you don't miss out on any of the rest of the predictions we've got coming up over the next couple of weeks, starting off with my Premier League preview and predictions for Game Week 11, which will be posted in just 1 hour's time. And if it's already out, then the video link will be available at the top of your screen right now. And if you want to gain even more access to even more previews and predictions such as Bundesliga, Serie A and Ligue 1, those are all available on the community page right now if you are a member. And if you do want to become a member, click the join button at the bottom of your screen right now. There'll be a link to the membership page, which will have quickest access to those previews and predictions. As for today, though, we once again have 10 matches taking place for you in Spain this weekend. And as always, we start off with a Friday night kickoff. So without any further ado, let's get straight into it. That game taking place tonight sees Elche taking on Real Sociedad, where, despite the fact that the table positions tell you that Elche are in 9th and Sociedad are in 14th, it is actually the away side that are coming into this game in much better form, and they will actually go above Elche if they're able to get the win here tonight. For the home side, it's no win in their last 4 matches, losing all of their last 3 games away from home, which included defeat to Barcelona last time out. Whereas for the away side, it's actually 4 wins in their last 5 matches with 1 draw in between, including a victory over Athletic Club Bilbao last week thanks to a 92nd minute winner. That being said, coming into this, Elche remain unbeaten at home in the league so far this season, whereas Sociedad remain winless away from home so far this season. So you've still got to give a lot of credit to the home side coming into this, and you've still got to fancy them to get at least something from this match. In terms of the team news, it's also more favourable in terms of the home side, as their only concern coming into this one is their captain Biggis, who went off last week in the defeat to Barcelona, and pun intended, it would be a big loss if he were unavailable for this match. Whereas for Sociedad, they're without a few players, most notably Baranetxea and Zakarian, who both went off with injuries in their victory last week. The head-to-head record is very strong in favour of Sociedad. They have won all of the last 6 meetings between these sides, 5 of those 6 being without conceding a single goal. However, even though their run has been good over the last few weeks, I'm still not fully convinced they're going to break Elche's unbeaten home start to the season here. I'm going to start today's video with a draw, and I'm going to go for a 1-1. But watch this space. I do think there's a real chance of all 3 results happening here. On to Saturday, and our earliest kickoff sees bottom club Girona hosting Alaves coming into this. Both sides were involved in 2-1 home wins last week, with Girona losing 2-1 away to Getafe and Alaves winning 2-1 at home to Espanyol. But as I've mentioned multiple times already, Alaves are the most inconsistent side in La Liga as things stand, and that run continues with that victory last week, because it means across the 11 game weeks so far in La Liga, Alaves are yet to have back-to-back results, i.e. they've not had 2 wins in a row, they've not had 2 draws in a row, they've not had 2 losses in a row. Every single result, week on week, has been different to the previous one. So that streak is going to have to break if they're going to get the away win at Girona here. For Girona, they just continue to be the worst side in the division at the moment, but as things stand, they could still get out of the relegation zone with a victory here, at least temporarily, because they are just 2 points from safety as things stand. In terms of the team news, as always, Girona still have their injury problems, but the good news for them is they have no fresh injury concerns coming into this one. For Alaves, Pacheco is out through injury, and Lucas Boy is suspended after receiving a red card in that victory over Espanyol last week. To make matters even harder when it comes to this prediction, the head-to-head record makes things even more difficult as well, because last season both games were won 1-0 by the side playing away from home, i.e. Girona won 1-0 in Alaves, Alaves won 1-0 away here. So honestly, I don't know. I think there is definitely a chance, again, that all 3 results are possible. So as always, when it's seems to be that sort of way where I can't really say with any significant confidence that one side is going to take it over the other. Just like with the opening prediction of the video, I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. I do think if you're going to pick a favourite right now, you would obviously have to pick Alaves. They're in 8th, Girona in last place, but I'm just not convinced they're going to get there and get the result. Anything could happen. I'm going for the 1-1 draw. Next up, we have Sevilla and Osasuna. And in terms of the home side, it looks like they're starting to slip back into the bad habits we saw from them last season, as it's now 3 games in a row that they have lost in La Liga after beating Barcelona 4-1, let's not forget. Although last week it was an expected defeat at Atletico Madrid. For Osasuna, they only have 1 more point in their last 3 matches, as they lost their previous 2 going into last weekend and only could manage a goalless draw with Real Oviedo last time out. But that being said, you would still probably have to regard Sevilla as the favourites for this match, despite their poor run over the last few weeks, as they do have a relatively okay home form this season. It's only 4 points from their home matches so far, but Osasuna are quite literally the worst away side in the division so far this season, with that point they got at Real Oviedo last week being the only point they've got away from home all season. And let's not forget, Oviedo are currently in the relegation zone. In terms of the team news, Isaac Romero is a doubt for Sevilla, and the likes of Agume and Alexis Sanchez remain doubts after missing last week's game. For Osasuna, both Toro and Morey... For Osasuna, both Torre and, more importantly, their main striker Budimir went off last week and are both expected to miss this game. It should be noted that Osasuna are actually unbeaten in their last 3 visits to Seville, with the 2 previous results in the last couple of seasons being 1-1 draws. However, without Budimir up front, I do think it's going to be very difficult for them to score a goal. They didn't even score with him last week before he ended up going off injured. Maybe if he's back, they will have some chance, but I'm going for a home victory here, and I'm going for 1-0 to Sevilla. Next up, it is Atletico Madrid taking on Levante, and no such goal-scoring problems for Atletico Madrid, who come into this weekend after a 3-0 victory over Sevilla last time out, and they back that up with a 3-1 victory over Union Saint-Gilloise in the Champions League in midweek. Although if those of you who have seen the highlights will know, at 2-1 in stoppage time, there was a massive, massive miss from the Belgian side before Atletico went up the other end and scored the 3rd goal. So maybe not as convincing as some may think. Coming into this from a Levante perspective, though, they are winless in their last 3 matches, losing 2-1 at home to Celta Vigo last week, and they could actually find themselves in the relegation zone by the end of the weekend if results don't go their way, and it is going to be a very tough ask for them to go to one of the most informed sides in the division and get a result here. In terms of the team news coming into this, Lenormand is a doubt for Atletico Madrid. He only lasted the first 20 minutes on Tuesday night against Union Saint-Gilloise and could most likely miss this game. As for the away side, Vencedor is suspended after getting a red card last weekend, and Ray Romero and Martinez are both out of this game through injuries. I say this is going to be a tough ask for Levante to go to Atletico Madrid and get a result. Weirdly, in their last 2 meetings on this ground, they've actually won both of them without conceding in either match. However, it should be noted that the most recent of those results was back in 2022, and I do think with certainly the attacking outlay from Atletico Madrid over the last couple of years, I would certainly expect the home side to come out with some goals here. I personally think anything other than an Atletico Madrid win would be considered a shock, but as we know, against the sides in the bottom half of the table so far this season, Atletico have slipped up on multiple occasions already. I'm still going to back them to get the win here, though, and I'm going for a 3-0 win to Madrid. Final game on Saturday then is Espanyol taking on Villarreal, and we're back to a very potential tricky one coming into this here. Espanyol did of course lose last weekend, we've already mentioned it. They went down 2-1 to Alaves, whereas for Villarreal it was a very convincing 4-0 victory over an in-form Rayo Vallecano. The issue is coming into this one is they backed up that performance by losing 1-0 away to a very resilient Paphos side in Cyprus, in a result that I did say would have a chance of happening, but I still backed Villarreal there, and I stand by that prediction. But who knows? Against an Espanyol side that we know on their day can also be very defensively solid, it does make it a little bit harder to say that Villarreal should be considered the favourites coming into this match. Although it should be noted that in that game against Paphos, Villarreal did make multiple changes to their starting lineup, and quite clearly that decision ended up costing them. In terms of the team news coming into this one, the only real news for Espanyol remains that injury to Puado. He is not going to be back in time for this game. Whereas for Villarreal, there are actually no fresh concerns coming out of either the weekend game last time out or the game in midweek due to the rotation. Basically both set of players making it through their respective matches unscathed. Maybe our answer to this question lies in the actual head-to-head record, where it should definitely be noted that Villarreal have actually won the last 5 meetings between these sides, both home and away, including a 2-1 victory on this ground last season. Certainly wouldn't surprise me to see Espanyol get something from this match, but I'm going to go for that Villarreal victory once again here. They've been fantastic in La Liga so far, and I think they're going to have enough to see off Espanyol here. I'm going for a 2-0 win to the away side. On to Sunday then, and we start off with two sides who are really seriously struggling for form right now. Bilbao have now lost their last 3 matches in a row after losing to Sociedad at last weekend and then losing again to Newcastle in the Champions League in midweek. For Oviedo, it's now no win in their last 5, although a 0-0 draw with Osasuna last weekend was a crucial second clean sheet of the season for them. And coming up against the Bilbao side that is struggling for goals at the moment, that might be the sort of confidence boost they need to get at least a point from this one here as well. What should absolutely be noted in case of both teams, they are both missing a significant number of players due to injury at the moment. For Athletic Club Bilbao, it is really, really serious at the moment because in terms of their defence, you've got Lecui and Yuri Berachiche out injured. In midfield, they've got their most creative midfielder in Sanche out injured. And then in terms of attackers, it is an absolute disaster. Sonardi and Gurizeta, both their main strikers, are both out injured for this match. And then both of the Williams brothers are now injured again in Naki and Nico, both expected to miss this game. They've been absolutely decimated in all areas of the pitch. And it's no surprise that they're struggling to get results at the moment with so many key players injured. For Oviedo, though, it's not much better because Santi Cazorla, Lopez, Ilaria and Brecalo are also all out for them. So with that being said, and with that actually being no recent head-to-head record between these sides, because Oviedo are in the division for the first time in multiple years here, it does make this a really near impossible prediction to make. So what I'm going to do is just completely bottle it and go, considering Athletic Club are at home, and given the fact that even with the injuries on paper, they still have slightly better players and are still doing relatively okay at home compared to their away form, which is absolutely diabolical, I'm still going to go for the Athletic Club win. I'm just going to go for 1-0 to them. But honestly, there's no result that surprises me here. I think 0-0 is on the cards. I think an Oviedo win is on the cards. I just think you have to go for Bilbao because they're the home side and nothing else really. Honestly, anything can happen in that match. Next up, it is the league leaders, Real Madrid, who, despite getting their incredible 4-0 victory over Valencia last weekend, were quite frankly absolutely battered by Liverpool on Tuesday night. And if it wasn't for Thibaut Courtois putting in what, in my opinion, was a man-of-the-match performance, they would have lost significantly more by the 1-0 margin that they actually ended up suffering in the end. For Vallecano, they also received a battering last week, although their one was back at the weekend where they ended up shipping for themselves to Villarreal. However, they did get a victory last night in the Europa Conference League, beating Lech Poznan 3-2 thanks to a stoppage time winner. So even that being said, it's not the best result for them coming into this one. What is pretty good for them coming into this one is their recent record against Real Madrid, certainly on this ground where they actually haven't lost to Real Madrid in any of the last 3 seasons, the previous 2 of them being draws, and incredibly it was a 3-3 draw between these two sides last season. In terms of the team news now, Vallecano have no fresh concerns out of the weekend or last week due to the fact that, again, they made multiple changes for that game in midweek. It nearly ended up costing them like it did Villarreal in the Champions League, but they did end up getting the result in the end. So their main first-team players will be fit and available for this one. For Real Madrid, the big news coming out of this week is Aurelien Tchouameni, who has picked up an injury which will see him out for the foreseeable future. Unlikely to be back before Christmas as things stand. It's another big loss for them in a season where they have once again been struggling with long-term injuries in multiple positions. As I said before the Liverpool game, I still think you have to consider Real Madrid the favourites for this match after the season that they've had so far. But in recent weeks, Vallecano have been very, very good, particularly in this competition. I still am going to go for the Real Madrid victory, though. I think they've got enough in them to get the result here. But it wouldn't surprise me to see Vallecano cause an upset, as they have over the last few seasons. I'm going for a 2-1 win to Real Madrid. We are off to Mallorca next, where their mini resurgence has somewhat come crashing down last weekend with a 3-0 defeat to Real Betis. They're now going to be coming up against a Getafe side who have actually now won 3 games in a row in all competitions, although granted you really shouldn't be able to read too much into the fact that they won 11-0 against a weaker side or lower division side in the Copa del Rey a couple of weeks ago. But to be fair to them, it's still back-to-back La Liga victories over Bilbao and Girona last time out, and it puts them in good stead coming into this one away to a side that has been struggling all season long. Furthermore, for Getafe, they only have one injury concern, with Da Vinci being out for them, whereas for Mallorca, they are still going to be without Kumbula, Leto and Leo Roman coming into this one. To be honest, this is another one of them ones where I do think it is pretty difficult to call, especially when you look at the head-to-head record once again, because this is another one of those weird fixtures where the form goes in favour of the side playing away from home. In fact, the last 3 meetings between these two sides has resulted in the side playing away coming out on top, with Getafe winning here last season. So I don't really know where to put it. You've got to look at the overall form of the season between these two sides. And although I do think that all 3 results are possible, and I know I normally say when I think all 3 results are possible, I end up going for a draw, I just have a feeling this is going to be Getafe's game. They have a very, very good record away from home this season. They actually have the 5th best record in La Liga so far this season. And given how bad Mallorca have been, certainly in most situations so far this season, I think Getafe are just going to edge this one. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 victory Getafe. But again, I do think it will be very close. On to our penultimate game then, which sees Valencia hosting Real Betis, where again, I think this has the potential to be close, given the fact that you would consider the favourites to be Real Betis, and they are away from home. But given Valencia's form over recent weeks, it's not a good look for them. Last time out, they lost 4-0 to Real Madrid, which means they have now failed to win any of their last 6 games in La Liga, which is why they now find themselves in the relegation zone. Whereas for Real Betis, they won 3-0 over Mallorca last week, bouncing back from that defeat to Atletico Madrid a couple of weeks ago. And they continued that good run of form with a victory over Lyon last night in the Europa League and another clean sheet for them in a 2-0 victory. In terms of the team news for Valencia, although they're still without the likes of Ficurea and Diakabi, they don't have any fresh concerns coming into this weekend. For Real Betis, no concerns at all coming out of last night, where to be fair to them and to massive credit of their squad depth, they did change the vast majority of their squad and were still able to pretty comfortably beat Lyon in the Europa League. So very, very good result for Betis last night, and it puts them in a good position coming into this game. That being said, the head-to-head record certainly last season gives Valencia a little bit more hope, as they managed to get 4 points off of Real Betis last season, drawing away and then beating them 4-2 at home on this ground. Current form, though, does indicate that it is going to be a bit more of a struggle for them to pull off that sort of result coming into this one here. And as I said at the start of this preview, I do expect Betis to be considered the favourites for this match, and that is where I'm going to go. I do believe all 3 results are possible again, but I'm going for the green and whites here. I'm going for a 2-1 win to Real Betis. And then last, and absolutely certainly not least, I think we have one of the biggest fixtures of the weekend here in Celta Vigo taking on Barcelona. The 8 o'clock kickoff on Sunday night before we head off to the international break. This is the only match where both sides actually played in midweek. For Celta Vigo, they made it 4 wins in a row last weekend by beating Levante 2-1 away from home. And then they made it 5 wins in a row with their victory in midweek, or should I say last night, when they went to Dinamo Zagreb and won 3-0 in Europe. A very, very strong performance from them. So yeah, that run of draws now way in the past for them. 5 wins in a row for the home side. As for Barcelona, they did get a victory last weekend in La Liga, seeing off Elche 3-1, but they could only back that up with a 3-3 draw against Club Brugge of Belgium in what was by far the best Champions League match of the weekend. It finished 3-3. It genuinely could have finished 6-6. And if it wasn't for some slightly controversial defensive refereeing decisions regarding the Barcelona defence, Brugge could have very, very easily ended up winning that match. So, given how open Barcelona have been over the last few weeks, I think it's a real opportunity for Celta Vigo to capitalise and come out with the result here. In terms of the team news, there is going to be an absentee for Celta Vigo in the goalkeeper Radu, whose finger injury does look like it's going to see him out until after the international break. He missed the game last night. He's expected to miss this one as well, but should be back following the international break. For Barcelona, Eric Garcia is the latest to have picked up an injury. He broke his nose in the final minutes of that game in Belgium in midweek, and it is a major doubt coming into this one. And he obviously joins that long list of players like Gavi, Rafinha, Pedri, etc. still out for Barcelona. As with the Brugge game, I would fully expect there to be an awful lot of goals in this match, with the head-to-head record seemingly backing up that trend of form as well, because the two matches these two sides played last year ended 4-3 to Barcelona at the Nou Camp, and it was a 2-2 draw here. So, honestly, I think we could be in for an absolute stormer of a game here where anything is possible. But I stand by what I said. Barcelona look very, very open at the moment, and Celta Vigo are on a very good run of form at the moment. So, even though I think most people are going to have Barcelona as the favourites for this match, and I still believe that Barcelona should be considered the favourites for this match myself, I'm going to go for the Celta Vigo win here, and I'm going to go for a 3-2 win to the home side. That is going to be it for today's video. We, of course, still have one more video before the international break, which will be my Premier League preview and predictions coming out for you in just a few minutes' time. Before I leave you here, though, let's see what you guys have been saying over on the community page for these fixtures, and you have gone for the following. Incredibly, a massive majority of you going for Sociedad to beat Elche, although a fair few of you have still gone for the draw. Majority have gone for Girona to beat Alaves. I do think that's valid, but unsurprisingly, still people going for the draw and for the Alaves win. Majority, well, not even the majority, it's very torn between the Sevilla victory and the draw, but no one fancying Osasuna in that one. Basically, everyone thinks Atletico Madrid beat Levante. Majority going for Villarreal to beat Espanyol. Majority going for Bilbao to beat Oviedo. Majority going for Real Madrid to beat Vallecano. Very split between Mallorca and Getafe. Getafe getting the majority, but it's only a 39% majority. The vast majority still think that Real Betis are going to beat Valencia, though, and unsurprisingly, the vast majority do think that Barcelona are going to get the win over Celta Vigo. I am in that 7% club that thinks Celta Vigo are going to get the victory here. As always, a massive thank you very much for watching. I'm going to put my predictions back up on the screen for you right now. If you head over to the community page, as I said, if you're a member, you'll be able to see my predictions for all the other major leagues this weekend. And over the course of the next few days, I'm going to start posting my community polls for all of the games taking place over the course of the international break. So make sure you check those out as and when they become available. A final thank you very much for watching this video. Hopefully I'll see you in a few minutes' time for the Premier League previews and predictions that I've got coming up for you. So hopefully then I will see you there. Thank you very much for watching.